Welcome back. This is it. This is the last time that I'm going to talk about dating and relationships. This is it. After this, we'll move on to some other subjects. We can talk about philosophy. I think that might be good. Yeah, the philosophy of college, as well as general life philosophy. I was surprised how much I learned about philosophy in college, as well as I've been reading a lot of books related to Stoicism, Buddhism, things like that recently. But yeah, let's see. I think on the community post, I was like, oh, what do you guys want me to talk about? You guys want me to talk about my past relationship history, my relationship resume. It looked like that was a pretty popular topic, as well as I'm pretty sure date ideas. We can start with that. I think I mentioned almost every time. Overcoming rejection was also a little bit popular. And then all of the above. Overcoming rejection. Okay, let's see which one to start with. All right, let's start with college date ideas. College date ideas. What I would recommend, if I had to go back in time and talk to a freshman year Kevin, I would tell that Asian teenager that probably the best way to get a girlfriend or to start a serious relationship is by approaching girls and being very kind of direct and upfront. That it was really hard, and I remember just how hard it was. Like I would get psyched out and have so much trouble approaching girls. Actually, I would not have trouble approaching girls. I would have trouble telling them that I was attracted to them and that I wanted to go out with them. That took a really long time. But it's a muscle. It's just a muscle that you got to train again and again. And I honestly think it might be better. I don't know if it's better in an area where you don't know anyone, like if you're in a foreign city, or if it's better on a college campus. Probably better on a college campus. Maybe somewhere kind of big where if like you get rejected, then you don't see them again. I know a lot of people were freaked out by getting rejected and then seeing someone again all the time in class. And yeah, it is awkward. I'm not going to say it's not awkward, guys, but that awkwardness totally fades over time. So what I would say is just practice, like make it a little game. This is what a lot of dating coaches, and whether this is related to dating and relationships or even if it's just sales, like the same thing with my startup. I was pretty shocked at how many cold calls I had to make and how many rejections I went through. Just say like, hey, I am going to approach these people one person a week, one attractive girl, one attractive female. I'm just talking of, present Kevin was talking to past Kevin. Past Kevin, no ifs, ands, or buts. Approach one attractive girl. Maybe some of you have trouble with even approaching. So practice that. Just practice approaching. Ask them for the time. Like literally, that's how it starts. Ask them for the time. Put your watch away. Ask them for if they know any good coffee places nearby. Come up with an excuse. Oh, wow. These bags under my eyes, guys. I'm not actually that tired. How am I today? I'm doing pretty well. I am a little sick, guys. I have a little bit of a sore throat. So this AMA might be a little bit short. But thanks for asking, Stream Awake. It's great seeing you. I recognize your name and your little profile icon. Anyways, back to the question. Overcoming rejection. You guys, it is a muscle. You just have to practice it again and again. And guess what? If you don't ask anyone, we know logically. This is really funny, right? Because it's like the animal brain. Sorry, it's like the reptilian brain versus like the logical side of our brain. Like we know that statistically speaking, if we approach no one, then we're never going to get into a relationship. We would be waiting for people to approach us. Has that happened to me? Yes, sure. It happens about at the very rapid pace of one person a year will approach Kevin and tell them that they like him. So not very often. Versus if you're able to approach people, and here's how you should approach. Never approach people from behind. That's really scary. What I would recommend is approaching people from their line of sight. You want to find places where people that you're interested in hang out. If you're interested in dance, go to a dance party or a dance class or yoga, right? Like I'm really into yoga and meditation. It sounds kind of like, I don't know, funky, picking up girls at a yoga studio, but I've just been going to yoga studios since I was like 13 or 14 with my sister and just part of class. And yeah, ends up being a really great place to meet people. Okay, so now you've met people in your pool. And what you should do is just say, give them a compliment and then ask if you guys can hang out in real life. Get their phone number. That's it. It's really those three main phases. Compliment. Hey, maybe it's in the class. You can say, I really liked like what you said today. Super insightful comments about neoclassical Chinese architecture. By the way, I think you're really cute. I was wondering if you wanted to grab coffee sometime. Bam, that's it. It's that simple. Like literally repeat that again and again and again and again and again and again in your mirror until you have it on lock. and then just start approaching people. I am really bad at texting and approaching people virtually. So for me, I just prefer talking to people in real life. I don't like having virtual conversations. That's just not what really excites me. I like spending real physical time with people. I'm a very physical person, like lots of hugging, stuff like that. Physical touch, one of my love languages for sure. By the way, guys, if you are watching, we have 8 people in 5 minutes. That's pretty rad. If you guys could sauce this video a little thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm just running through some of the things I said I'd talk about. Overcoming rejection was definitely a really big thing. It took me several years. And you don't have to be perfect at it, but then again, you want just one person to say yes, and then you'll be good. Let me know where you guys are watching this from. Any questions whatsoever, just hit me, ping me. I don't think I'll be on for a very long time today just because my throat kind of hurts. So probably just 30 minutes or 40 minutes. What are your thoughts on open relationships? Are you in one? Do you think open relationships have greater chances of lasting longer, says Yolanda? Okay, so the way I would describe it, guys, is every relationship is its own island. You know, some people have monogamous relationships, some people don't. Some people are in closed relationships, some people are in open relationships. It's totally up to those two people who are in the relationship. I think that as a young person, I would try to focus on just one person at a time. That's my personal take on it. I think rather than saying like, oh, we're going to be in an open versus closed relationship, kind of understanding where is that motivation coming from? Like, why do you want to be in an open relationship? Can get a little bit funky, sure, if one person really is gunning for an open relationship and another person is not. I'm sure that could create some kind of conflict. But do I think open relationships have a greater chance of lasting longer? Maybe it's a phase that relationship goes through. They're doing long distance. You know that you won't see each other for a while, but you still want to remain committed. Or maybe you've been in a relationship for several years and you want to explore for a little bit, for a few months. Some people will say like, you can talk to other people. I don't want to know what goes on. Just don't share, don't tell. And whatever works for them. I'm not going to say like this is going to work for everyone. Maybe there's a study, maybe there's some kind of psych stat study that shows that open relationships last longer. I don't know. I don't have access to that information, but my personal opinion is that it really just depends on the two people involved. Every marriage is its own island. They're all different. Hi to Jasmine. What's good? How's it going? Guys, feel free to ping me with any other questions. I might pause every once in a while because my throat is kind of hurting. So I'll just drink some tea, drink some water. Close this door. Okay, it looked like one of the really popular topics that people wanted me to talk about was my relationship resume. My relationship resume. How many relationships have I even been in? Let's see. I don't even think I've been in that many. I think I've been in 3 total. So 1 in high school, 1 in college, and 1 now. Pretty solid rate. So let's see. In high school, this relationship, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so lost. And I really wish someone had sent me a guide about like, this is how you be a boyfriend. This is how you approach people. I remember being you would think I knew more, but I was in a boys' dorm since I was in a boys' dorm. But I just kind of like watched. I wish there was more of a strategic guide. And also, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like what's really important is identifying your own unique strengths and weaknesses, even when it comes to dating and relationships, and really kind of having that self-awareness and understanding like, here are my strengths. I'm really humorous. I really enjoy there's some activities that are just a little bit more attractive than others, like cooking and dancing are pretty attractive activities. Things like that, understanding your kind of position in the world. Anyways, at this point, oh man, should I even talk about this? Oh God. All right. So this was senior year of high school. I had approached maybe dozens of girls in high school, and I could never get anything to stick. Like, I had so many crushes, and I would come up to my crushes and ask them over text in the dining hall and get rejected, or they would go on one date and it would lead to nothing. So this was really disappointing. I think I struggled a lot with that Asian masculinity, those issues of not being wanted, not being worthy of a high quality relationship. And it was tough seeing some of the other guys in the dorm where it just seemed to come so effortlessly. So I remember, but then again, some guys who didn't weren't involved in any relationships whatsoever. Really go at your own pace, guys. Don't compare and contrast. Like they do their thing, you do your thing. If I could recommend my one piece of life advice is compare yourself to you. At any rate, what happened was there was this girl where I met her my freshman year, and things ended up. Well, she liked me, and we were in the basement of my dorm, and we were watching a movie, and she started like sucking on my neck and giving me a hickey. And this is a really nice girl, but I was just very intimidated, surprised, and so I like yeeted my way out of the basement, and ended up just saying like, "This is moving too fast for me. Goodbye." And so I didn't talk to this girl. But over time, I started developing more feelings for her. But as luck would have it, she got into a serious relationship with another dude, and they were dating for like 2 or 3 years. So fast forward, now it's senior year, Kevin, and she just broke up with her long-term boyfriend, and I ended up chatting with her. She was in my biology class, and I confessed my love. And we were there's like a famous ice cream spot on the boarding school campus, so we went to that ice cream spot, and then we walked in the park. We sat down on the bench, told her my feelings, and then I had my first kiss, bam, when I was 17. That was pretty miraculous. And then I think 1 or 2 weeks later, I lost my virginity. So that was pretty fast. And I wish it kind of didn't happen that way. I wish we really took things a little bit slower. And if what ended up happening was that relationship was almost purely physical. And I felt like a really bad guy. I felt very slimy and greasy because I grew up with all these kinds of influences with regards to toxic masculinity. Like guys would always be asking in the dorm, like, "Oh, how far did you go?" Things like that. And I was such a man. I feel kind of, I don't even know if I should talk about this. Like my lawyer sister was probably going to hound me on this if she ends up watching it. But at any rate, I just felt bad because I think I was using the relationship just as a means of almost like stress relief. Like I wasn't really invested and interested in getting to know this other person on a human level. And I think one of the first questions you got to ask yourself when you enter a relationship is like, would I be happy talking to this person for several hundred hours? Would I want to spend like several hundred hours with them? Now, the interesting thing is pretty much around like the second or third date, you guys probably will figure that out. But there was some hesitancy where like I was like, yeah, this would be a cool person to hang out with, but I just never got to that zone. I think it just ended up being so much more physical, and I'm really sad about that. And this was like such a sweet girl, such a nice girl, and she wanted to get close, and for some reason I just didn't know how. And I think a lot of it had to do with like my personal upbringing and not seeing like a great positive relationship or how that manifests itself. Didn't really have that in my family. Didn't really see that in boarding school or was really exposed to it where I could investigate it up close. I think I saw more of it when I was in college. So yeah, that relationship, I would say, if you asked me a few years ago, I would have just said that relationship was a failure. It lasted like 3 to 4 months. It was purely physical. And I felt ashamed of myself for almost like taking advantage of this girl. Just don't get me wrong. We both really enjoyed what we were into. But I wish we were able to form more of a deeper connection. So then going into college, I still really wanted to be in a relationship. But I think, you're exposed to all these kind of Hollywood lovey-dovey stories. And so I wanted to see something more like that, where I was like, really, I'm kind of a romantic guy. I like romantic gestures and things like that. And there was still this kind of disconnect going on in my mind where it was like, how come I'm not able to express myself? Is it the person? Is it me? Is it the scenario? Just ended up trying to get more comfortable talking to girls because, to be honest, in high school, I didn't talk to that many girls. So once I got to college, I would, like I mentioned last week, I would meet with girls and ask if we could go grab a meal. And just kind of working that muscle. It used to be like a really big deal for me to just talk to a girl and hang out with them one-on-one. And I think that kind of happens at every teenager's life at some point in time. For me, it was pretty late, I would say. I was kind of a late bloomer. And then I was also just frequently comparing myself to other kids in college, people who were taller, stronger, more attractive, people who were older. I just felt like there was always some excuse in my mind, which was really dumb. I did struggle a lot with self-confidence, body image, and things like that. At any rate, nothing really happened, I think, for those first couple of years. And I ended up meeting this other girl during my senior year. And this was also kind of a pretty surprising realization. I may have to rewind, actually. So a lot of you guys are asking how I met like my current girlfriend, and I met her because I met her in college, actually 4 years ago, when I was a freshman at Yale going into sophomore year. This was in the summer. This was such a crazy story because I had nothing to do that summer, and so I signed up for an exchange program at ISEC, which is they send people all across the world to do internships, homestays, work in nonprofits, things like that. So I ended up working at this nonprofit with another in Argentina, and it was in Salta, Argentina, which is pretty north, and it's pretty far from Buenos Aires, things like that. I ended up living at this host family for about 8 weeks, and I met my girlfriend there. It was wild, guys. She had a boyfriend at the time. I was kind of like a homewrecker a little bit, like secretly hoping that she broke up with her boyfriend. She had just started dating her boyfriend 2 weeks before setting foot in Argentina. So the way it worked is I arrived in the program halfway through the summer, and I arrived in the program early in the summer, and then she arrived 4 weeks after me. So we kind of overlapped just for 4 to 5 weeks. And it was, wow, probably like I've never felt so strongly, period, in my entire life. Like I've never felt such a strong combination of emotions. And I think that that's what really got me. There was no way to logic my way out of it or talk about reason. It was just every single minute, almost like every single hour of every single day, I would just continue thinking about this girl and this relationship. So I guess to one extent it was infatuation, but trust me, like we were thrown through a loop, like this whole debacle with her and her boyfriend and me feeling guilty for wishing that they were kind of not together. But then being thankful and grateful that I just got to hang out with this girl and be in her presence, learn so much about her. There was definitely a mixture of sadness, bittersweet, anger, lots of kinds of emotions going on in Argentina. And what ended up happening is we just left. We went on lots of little dates together, and we shared each other's life stories almost, and we connected and just never really talked to each other again after that. What happened was she did break up with her boyfriend, but this was after we both left Argentina. And now I was at Yale, and she bought a ticket to come see me at Yale. She had done Model UN, and she was coming to New York for a UN conference. And then, long story short, she ghosted me, totally disappeared. She bought this ticket to come see me, and then I planned this entire weekend getaway in New York where we would be in an Airbnb together and watch like some of her. She's into musicals, so I like booked a ticket to go see a musical, and then she disappeared. Then I cried my eyes out, and I was probably my lowest low in college. I did not come in here prepared to talk about all this, and this story could get a lot more detailed, but I'll just give you guys the big rocks as we jump from event to event. I feel like I'm just talking to a black dot. I don't even know if anyone's listening. Anyways, I ended up getting ghosted, and I'm crying against my sophomore roommate's dresser. And what ended up happening was I poured all of my emotional energy into my startup, and that's how I got really involved in the startup. So then there was no girls involved there. There's always that joke about you choose your relationship or your work, and you really only get one. So I was just like, all of my emotional energy really was invested in my work. Did that for 2 years, then work ended. That's literally like a 1 or 2 hour talk that I will save for another time, that whole startup adventure. Then I ended up, I'll get to that, Yolanda. Why did she ghost you? Then I ended up meeting another girl my senior year. And this girl was older. She was 1 year older. She had just graduated from Princeton. And now I was going through like my mind. Like this was a lot of societal kind of pressure that was just, these thoughts were racing through my mind. So here I met this really, really nice, sweet Asian girl, again, Chinese from California. And she ended up graduating from Princeton. So she was big into art, super duper adorable. She loved cooking. And there were so many reasons to fall in love with her. And I did for a little bit, but I was missing that passion and heat from the first relationship. And I met this, like, there were just so many things that I was like, oh yeah, I know this. Like attraction is a function of similarity. We're so similar. She loves dance. We love food, obviously. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have a long-term relationship with someone who understands your culture and your food? And those were the logical ways that I was trying to persuade myself that this relationship was good for me. And it was good for like a month or two. There was a lot of sharing and vulnerability, and then it just didn't click. I think that the chemistry wasn't quite there. And at this point, I made another mistake, which was I kept dragging this relationship along because I was afraid that, oh, Kevin, you're like 20 years old and you've never been in a serious long-term relationship. I kind of wanted that badge of honor. And now looking back on it, it was so foolish. Like, who cares if you've been in lots of long-term relationships? Like, what am I trying to prove to who? My friends don't care about that. It was so ridiculous. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, Kevin, your relationship only lasted 4 months. That was a failure. If you guys are, I'm just telling you guys because I don't want you to go through what I went through, which was dragging this along, even though that you're making up kind of excuses, made up excuses in your mind to keep doing something that you know is not good for you or the other person. It's just totally not fair to that other girl. And I wish that we were already drifting apart. I wish that we had just kind of cut things. I wish I was braver and cut things off more quickly. That was really recent. I think we broke up in April of last year. And it was because of coronavirus. We ended up doing long distance. And I realized that I wasn't really looking forward to spending time with her virtually. And that was really sad. I think that she was like, hey, why don't we take a break? And I was like, well, if we're going to take a break, we might as well just break up, period. And that's what we did. I was really sad. And again, I cried. Now, the saddest part is I don't think I really learned my lesson from the first relationship. And I was still just very, like, I was just approaching it from a physical standpoint. I think for me, it's been always kind of tricky to find that balance between like what is too physical versus like how much time or energy percentage of relationship should be spent discussing emotional concepts or like I should say connecting on an emotional or spiritual level, even on an intellectual level where, you know, the things that I'm really passionate about on an intellectual basis, whether it's philosophy or creating projects, creativity, editing, things like that. Like I could go up to my significant other and be able to show them that. I think that's nice for sure. I didn't really have that. I think all that we had was a little bit of passion. It was physical. We spent a lot of time together and we were going through the motions of a relationship, you know, like eating together and watching shows together and then sleeping together. And then that was it. But it didn't feel like we were in a real relationship. And that's when it really hit me. So then I entered my current relationship with my girlfriend, Ingra. Ingra is the girl from Argentina. I had just broken up with that Princeton girl, nice Asian Princeton girl, and Ingra messages me out of the blue. Actually, guys, I'll tell you what happened. I mean, I remember it clear as day. This was about a year ago, almost exactly at this time. I was breakdancing in my living room, and I get a Facebook message from Ingra, who I hadn't heard from in years, a solid year. I even blocked her on like WhatsApp because I was just trying to overcome this breakup. And it's good to not talk to them or think about them, get some space. With every day, guys, a breakup gets a little bit easier. We talked, and I broke up with my that Princeton girlfriend, and Ingra came back into my life. I would say this was almost like a month. I would be lying if I said that Ingra did not play a role in the breakup because I was always comparing this girl to Ingra in Argentina, the passion that I felt. And similarly, the Princeton girl compared me to another guy that she had met in Princeton, who was really, really sweet and always giving her like acts of service. And I don't think I was just that person for her. So there was a bit of a disconnect in terms of love languages, maybe in terms of chemistry. Ingrid and I talk, and finally we're getting to Yolanda's question of why did she ghost you? And it makes sense because she basically explained, had we entered a long-term relationship when I was a freshman at Yale and she was a sophomore in Brazil, or I was a sophomore at Yale and she was a junior in Brazil, we would have been in a long-term relationship for like 2 to 3 years and just kind of chained each other down, not being able to see each other for such a long time. Maybe we could have done like an open relationship or something. But basically, Ingrid reasoned in her mind that it would be painful and it would be detrimental to both of our growth over that 2-year period. Logically, that makes sense. Should she not have ghosted me? Yes. She could have delivered. It's all about delivery, guys. She could have delivered that message a lot more respectfully and nicely. I mean, she regrets it. She apologized. We moved on. It's not like I think about it. Or I'm like angry or bitter about her ghosting me. Sure, I was sad, but I got over it. And of course, it led to really amazing things too, like the startup. Well, the startup didn't work out for me either, but I learned a lot and it got me to where I am today. That's my relationship history in a nutshell. Then I moved to Brazil. And yeah, the hair is gone. Thanks, Chuck, for noticing. And Yolanda has a question. Guys, hit me with your questions. That was a lot. I feel kind of like funky. I don't know if a future employer would watch this and be okay with what I'm saying, but whatever. This channel is for me and you guys. It's for both of us. So yeah, guys, hit me with any questions about my journey. Don't forget to like if you guys enjoyed that, and let me know where you guys are watching in from. And I'll probably run this for like 10 or 15 more minutes and then call it a day. What do you think are the biggest differences between your current relationship and past ones? Do you think you found the balance you were talking about? Absolutely. Like, I was so scared. I've never lived with a significant other before. This is totally a recent development for me. I started living with Ingra a month ago when I moved to Brazil. For some reason, I had a lot of faith. I was like, there's another way of approaching it where I started thinking more about the relationship, almost like, it sounds kind of funky, but running a startup or running a company. I was like, I want to know very quickly what's working and what's not working. Then I want to know if this is still worth pursuing. And also I want to be able to figure out, am I able to fix the things that are not working? And if so, how can I fix them? Is it worth fixing them? So a lot of those kinds of general questions. And I think in my early relationships, I knew to an extent that it really wasn't worth fixing. But this girl is different. Like, it's just, I do want to spend the rest of my life with her. The feelings that I felt in Argentina were very real, very strong. And we ended up reuniting again here in Brazil. And things have just been so stupidly easy. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, she is so easy to live with in terms of eating habits, sleeping habits, even healthier than me. Like, she pushes me to want to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, eat better, exercise more, meditate more, read more, work harder, be more productive. She's a little bit older than me, and I think she's really like just much wiser than me, reads a lot of books about spirituality. I've just found that the balance in this relationship has been so much more natural. I do wish that she just didn't work as much so we could hang out more. She works quite a bit. But then I just ended up rebalancing a little bit. So I started producing more content with the College Winter View series and working harder on the YouTube channel. And now we pretty much work at the same time and get to hang out. We have like a holy Friday night is our date night. We watch movies and we watched all the Star Wars. And yeah, I think that, you know, I don't think that sometimes I think it's helpful just to be like the clarity where it's like once a week we're going to have a date night, a ritual. Those rituals are really, really important for relationships, but also like a ritual where it's like this time every week, at least I know that once a week we're going to be able to talk about some really heavy topics that are going on in our mind, whether that's related to family or health or our future or finances or kids or things like that. And we do. We were able to talk about those things. Sometimes it's over a meal. Sometimes we're both just kind of beat after work. We lie in bed, turn on the AC real cold, and just talk about like our worries and what's going on in our minds. You'd be surprised at how like lots of relationships, even in married relationships, they don't have real conversation for more than an hour a week. If you guys are talking to your significant other on like a deep human level where they know more about you than I would say, you know, the vast majority of people, they know you really, really well, then that's a plus. So I think that those really vulnerable conversations and that those honest conversations are a function of the emotional health of the relationship. And it sounds kind of lame, but I mean, you get really busy when you're older and it's worth scheduling if you really care about it. It's worth prioritizing. So that's the emotional and physical part of the relationship. Yeah, I think in a relationship as well, you're always going to have one person who wants to have more sex than the other person. And it's pretty much always going to be a matter of compromise. I think in this relationship, the compromise has been a lot easier as well. And that's been helpful. I can't say that doesn't help. So there's the physical, the emotional, there's the spiritual, and then there's just general living and being with each other. Really happy to make this happen. I dreamed about like right now, the situation that I'm in, living with Ingra has been a dream come true. Like I remember so many days when I was a sophomore at Yale where I was totally miserable, hated my classes, and didn't really have that many close friends. And I just would go to sleep thinking about a day where I would wake up and like Ingra would be next to me. And now that is my reality and it's fabulous. I'm happy. I go to a small liberal arts school, says pickleball. This is a new name, new face. And I find it hard to meet guys who are ambitious and passionate about both STEM and philosophy. Will it get easier after college? Will it get easier after college? Ooh, will it get easier after college? I think that the way to go is you want to be able to find those groups where you think that your ideal, yeah, this is a great exercise again. And this is not from me. I took it from a book where you guys are going to sit down and write a paragraph or maybe even a page about who your ideal significant other looks like. What do they do? What are they passionate about? What do they care about? What are their living habits? It's really funky. The moment you start writing it down, then that person will start to appear more in your life for the simple reason that you are more cognizant of what you're looking for. And so you'll be able to more easily identify. This is great that you know the kind of person who you're looking for. Yeah, I'm going to do a whole girlfriend reveal. Okay, Tesneen? All right, people, chillax. But anyways, will it get easier after college? I can't say for certain. But what I can say is you want to be able to find those groups where people like that hang out. This could be a workplace where you know that it always, like maybe a lot of finance firms incorporate people who are very engineering heavy and also just smart with philosophy. That might be a great place to meet smart people, like a place where it's hard, you know, again, like Google has created so many marriages. It depends on the workplace. Finding areas where people like that hang out is your best bet. Or even, if that's your number one priority is finding people who have those same interests, then creating a group, something along those lines. Like even if you're in college, you could start to create little late night parties, like not parties, but almost like get-togethers where you guys chat, have a beer, like do a book club. If that's what I've like seen people form those kinds of organizations at Yale, very informally, where they'll host like if you watch Julia Letham's interview, which I posted, I think 2 days ago, she talks about how people like artists at Yale formed really, really informal communities and would just host, what are they called? Open mics in the dorm, in their dorm room, in their common room, and just invite people over, have snacks, have beer. And that's not school organized, right? That was clearly organized by another human being, like a student. So be that person who organizes it. You'll get to know more people. This will be better for your academic career, your professional career, as well as just your romantic life, meeting new people. Yeah, great. Any other questions, guys? I might actually call it quits kind of soon. But let me know if you have questions, and I'll sit here and entertain you guys for a few more minutes. I have a lot of tutoring today. My throat is dying. I hope this was helpful, guys. I felt kind of weird just like talking more personally about these subjects. Is she camera shy? She's not, guys. She has a YouTube channel. She's not that camera shy, but I've just been like building some suspense, saving it. What career path are you looking into? Yeah, Edward, good question. I mean, I just actually applied for a few jobs this week. One was really cool. Synthesis.is, I think. So guys, check it out. I'm really, really stoked about this opportunity. Guys, I just made a day in the life video, and it's probably my best video ever. And I'll talk about this in that video. That video, the day in my life, I recorded literally 100 clips, and I'm dying editing it. It took me like 2 hours to edit 2 minutes. It's probably gonna take me 10 hours to edit the rest of the video. I'll upload a little preview. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know a lot of people have been curious about what life is like in Brazil. It's not that glamorous. I just like sit at a computer and I work. I'm not even really allowed to go outside because COVID situation is bad. Anyways, back to the synthesis. You guys know Elon Musk? Elon Musk has children. Yes, he has lots of children. He has 6 kids. Sent those kids to school. However, he realized that school was kind of dog water. And so he hired a dude to build a program for his kids. So that dude built a program, like essentially a small school for Elon Musk's kids. And now he's taking the lessons he learned from that school and putting it online. It's like have you guys seen Ender's Game? He calls it an Ender's Game for in real life. So the kids play collaborative games. They're like video games almost, but they're more logic based. So they're like puzzles. I wouldn't say I'd call them a game. So they play puzzles against each other. And my job, I just interviewed. Hopefully I'll make it to the second round. I've yet to hear from them, but the first round interview went really great. They made me play one of the games that they designed. So I was like one of the kids. And then my job would be to observe the kids playing the game and then send feedback back to the administrators. So really excited about that. Another long-term plan of mine is I'm pursuing an opportunity where I would teach English at a university in China. So I'll hear back from them in another 2 to 3 weeks. And yeah, if that goes well, then I'll be moving to China in September, and I'll be like a little professor at the ripe age of 22, 23 years old, which is kind of wild. Did not expect to be here 5 or 10 years ago. Thanks to Jasmine. So we'll see. And if, clearly poop hits the fan, I'll just be back in Brazil tutoring, making YouTube videos for another year. And I think year 2 will be good. Year 1 of making YouTube videos has certainly, guys, I'm going to be honest, like there were times where I certainly wanted to quit. I was like, I don't have anyone watching. Like, this is so hard. I've spent like, again, 15 hours on a day in my life video, which 100 people are probably going to watch. Like, that is so, when you think about it sometimes in that way, it's very sad. So the trick is not to think about it that way, but just say like, hey, if even like 10 random people are watching it, and also if no one watched this video, would I still be happy? The question is, yeah. I mean, I think I still would be pretty happy. Like if my kids saw it in like 30 or 40 years, I think that's still pretty awesome. So it is about reframing, guys. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today. And I wanted to thank you all so much for being a part of this journey, for supporting me each week, for commenting, liking, anything that you do, even just putting, being here and watching this with your very own eyeballs helps my channel bigly. Thank you guys so much. And I think I'm going to end it here. All right. Take it easy, guys. Wish you luck both in your college journey as well as in your romantic relationships. All right, guys. See you later. Peace.